Hi there, and welcome back to Triplicate, and in this video we're going to move on with our investigation into whether solar panels are worth the money installing. This was originally intended to be one quick video and has turned into two videos with a lot of work mucking around with models and usage and what have you. So first up, we will do a little recap because I altered the software models to be slightly better ahead of the second part, which we'll be looking at adding batteries to our setup and whether this is worthwhile. Since we discovered that solar panels put out most of their energy in the middle of the day in summer when our electricity usage is at a minimum. So that's not optimal. So anyway, let's recap what we've got. Okay, so this is where we got to last time. This is the payback time versus the number of panels. And the blue is with our EV plan, which gives us very cheap nighttime car charging and pays very badly for exported solar, and the solar plan, this is all from Octopus Energy, which gives you about half price nighttime charging or whatever you want to do with it, and gives you about half price export. And because if we are using the solar power to run our house, then we're getting full price electricity, because every unit we've saved is one we don't have to pay for. Whereas if we're exporting it, we're only getting half as much. So this is why you see, as we get more and more panels, our payback times get longer and longer. And we did come out with about 14.5 years for the solar plan, which is what is being quoted by or quoted on websites. So I was reasonably happy with that, but I did improve our model. So I have taken our usage, which is the blue trace, an actual day for, this is winter, for winter. I've used that for 3 months, and then a spring one, an autumn one and a summer one, and I've used them each for 3 months. Again, not optimal, but it's all approximate, and I can fiddle around forever with models and things, and it's still going to be pretty approximate. And the bottom traces, the curves, are the solar output for 1 panel, 2 panels, 5 panels and 10 panels. So you can see even winter with 10 panels we're exporting a bit here, and you see this is now a curve. So where did I get this from? Okay, from this graph here, which I showed you in the last video. So this is showing a sort of bell-shaped curve, which I've assumed to be a half a sine wave, near enough. And although you can see on a part cloudy day it's up and down, up and down, I'm guessing on average cloud averages out, so it will be that shape but a bit lower on average. And I've taken my day lengths from this and used that to set the start and end points of the curve, and then calculated the height of this curve, so the sums add up to our monthly outputs we obtain from, I believe, that curve there. That was all in the last video anyway. So back to this, we have our winter curves, and I did the same plot out for summer, and you can see that if we have 10 solar panels we are exporting an awful lot of energy. We can plot this out by month, and this is just a bar chart giving us saving, export. Grid is what we get from the grid, solar is what we get from the solar, and usage is what we're using, and I've done this for each month. So you can see here we're saving a little bit, the brown at the top. Again, this is the number of solar panels. So 1 solar panel we're saving a bit, 2 we're saving a bit, and perhaps exporting a bit, 3 we're starting to export, 5 we're starting to export quite a lot, and 10 whoopie-doos, we're exporting a lot throughout most of the year. So with these new models I have again plotted out the payback times, and they're pretty similar. Our solar tariff comes in at 14 years instead of 14 and a half, and that's 17 and a half instead of 18. So now let us add some batteries to our setup. Okay, so here we have a day in winter, and the blue trace is what we're using, and these are all in kilowatt hours and a half hour. The orange trace you can see at the bottom is what we get from the sun, the solar, which is very little, 1 panel in winter. Okay, the yellow trace is our low price grid, which we get in the night, and the light blue is our battery level, and that just 1 is the battery full. It's just so it's on a similar scale to the rest of them. And here we can see in the night it nicely charges up, and as we use power it drops down, it drops down, it drops down, and doesn't get helped by the solar a great deal. And you can see here, just in time to cook our evening meal, the batteries run out. So we're starting to look at the green trace, which is our expensive, relatively expensive normal grid supply, which I've called grid norm, the green, and we're using that till the end of the day till we start charging up the battery again. Okay, so that's not ideal. We are trying to avoid using our expensive daytime grid. So let us look at 5 panels winter. Here we can see the orange is much higher, we've got much more solar, and here we can see we charge the battery up during the night and it drops and it drops, and through the middle of the day the solar is keeping pace with what we're using, and in some places we're even getting a bit extra, which is just charging up the battery again. So by the time we get to the evening and the solar is done, there's enough left in the battery to last us all the night, so we are not drawing any power from our expensive daytime normal grid rate. Okay, so that looks set up, looks good. Let's try it in the summer. And here we are, 5 panels in the summer. We see we charge our battery up at the start of the day, and the battery stays pretty full, and here we get the solar, which is plenty, which is far exceeding our blue usage for most of the day. So it is keeping the battery topped up, but also the battery is full, so we're getting the purple, which is exported. And again, we're trying to avoid exporting if we can, because we only get half rate for that. That is not very cost efficient. And of course the battery is full, and it's good enough to run the house the rest of the day. So what we actually need to do is set the level we charge the battery to up during the night, so it won't run out during the day, but the solar, any spare solar, is still actually charging the battery up. Okay, so here we're not charging our battery up at all from our cheap rate electricity. The yellow, and as you can see the battery stays topped up. purely on the solar power, and sort of through the afternoon the battery's full, and that keeps us going through down to the early morning when we start charging up again. Happy days. And in fact, even we're exporting a little in the afternoon. So what we want to know is here how much charge to put in our battery, so that along with the solar power, that charge we put in will last the day, so we don't need to draw anything from our normal full price grid. Okay, so let's look at the case of winter. We've got one solar panel, so we're not getting a lot of power out of it, and our battery charges up to one full and goes down over the day and runs out about here, and here we're using power from the grid. Let's say we have 3 batteries. Okay, so we're charging our 3 batteries up here, and they are supplying the house during the day, and we end up with about just under 10% full here. But we can see we're only charging it up to 70% of capacity, and that's how I've done it. I've just said, okay, at this point we turn on the charging from our low cost grid, and we just check how much we've got left, and if we've got more than about 10% left, we charge it up a bit less, and if we've got less, and if it's run out, we charge it up a bit more, and it just adjusts itself as it goes along. Quite how that would be implemented in a real setup, I don't know, because I haven't looked into all these control units and whether you have APIs or some kind of intelligence or something. Anyway, that's what I've done to try and optimize things. And I will just note, it doesn't matter if we do overcharge the battery and have a bit exported, because the cost of charging at our low night rate is almost identical to the cost we get back when we export. So if we put an extra kilowatt hour in and get an extra kilowatt hour back, it cancels out. Okay, so here's winter again, and we have 5 panels now, so we do get some solar power, and we've got 2 batteries, so 10 kilowatt hours battery capacity, and see, we have to charge them up quite a lot on our cheap rate in the night, but we are actually only charging to 95%, and that and the bit of solar power is keeping us going right down to midnight, where our cheap rate kicks in and we charge up again. Now let's look at summer. So here we have 1 battery and 2 panels in summer, and you can see we are getting a decent amount of solar, and we're needing to charge the battery up a bit, but that and the solar are keeping us going, so we don't need to use our expensive normal rate daily power. And if we have 5 panels and 1 battery in the summer, you can see the battery, the solar's enough to charge the batteries up completely full mid-afternoon, and we are still exporting a bit. So that is the scheme we are using. So now what I need to do is go through and tot up our totals for a year for 1 to 10 solar panels and 1 to 3 batteries, and see how our costings and our payback times pan out, and then we should have some answers, which been hard work getting there. Okay, so here are our totals. I've done number of panels 1 to 10 along the bottom, and this is in kilowatt hours up, and first no batteries, and the grid norm is our high rate, normal rate, 30p a kilowatt hour electricity we buy off the grid, so we want to minimize that. So we are, as we've got no battery, we are, as the number of panels increases and what we've exported increases as well, which makes us back some of our money. And we look at one battery. So our yellow, our grid normal, our expensive electricity has gone way down. Our grid low has gone up, which is our cheap night rate electricity, and our exported has gone down up to about 5 panels, and then it starts coming up again. And if we look at 2 batteries, does that look any different? That is not very much different at all, and that is even less different. So for a start, we've learned from this that more than one battery is probably not worth the considerable expense. So as in the last video, we're getting a cost for solar panels from this website, which comes out about £703 per panel. And I've taken battery costs from these people who installed our car charging unit and seem to be pretty reasonable, and these are the 3 we are using. So if we go into our numbers, we can now calculate the yearly cost of our electricity with installation. That means not paying for the installation, while with solar panels and batteries installed. And you can see here, no panels, no batteries, it's about £669. And with 3 batteries and 10 solar panels, we can get down to £24-ish. Wow! So that's sounding good so far. However, if we look at the cost of installation, obviously no panels, no batteries, 0, 3 batteries, 10 panels, we're looking at nearly £14,000. So our annual savings is simply wherever we are in this table minus our annual savings are the no panels, no batteries value minus wherever we are in this table. Our base cost is here, and if we divide the savings into the cost, we get our payback years. Across the bottom we've got the number of panels, and up the number of years, and the various curves are no batteries, and the solar or EV are the solar nighttime and export tariff, which is about half our normal daytime tariff, and the EV here is our EV tariff we have, which is very cheap during the night and very poor export. Okay, so what's our best in terms of shortest payback period? Well, you might say it's here, 1 battery in our EV tariff, but the battery installation for which we have prices are just the battery and the inverter, and they assume you already have a controller for the solar panel which will connect to a battery setup. So we would probably need an extra control box to connect it to the rest of the system, which would up the installation price and probably not make it the best. So apart from that, we're looking for no batteries, solar tariff, and well, as few as possible solar panels. And the more solar panels we have, and the more batteries, the more our payback years go by, with our worst being 3 batteries and our solar tariff. Okay, in terms of payback years, realistically we're looking at 10 to 15. So let us see how our solar panel and battery system stacks up as an investment. Okay, so I started out wondering how our solar panels are as a return on an investment. So here I have a nominal £1,000 which I've invested or in some bank account or stock market scheme or something, or put into solar panels. So how does it perform over time, over years in fact? So I have 3 investments, 1% annual, 2% annual and 5% annual, and I have 3 payback times for my solar installation as we just worked out previously: 10 year, 12 year and 15 year. So let's say we've invested our £1,000 in our savings scheme or our solar panels. What happens if we want our money back very shortly afterwards? Well, I'm assuming we can get it back out of our savings scheme. We won't have made any money, but we'll get our money back here. Whereas our solar panels, well, our £1,000 is screwed to the roof. That's it. It's stuck there. We're committed. So over time we can see our savings, our investments or savings increase nicely in an exponential way: 5%, 2% and 1%. Whereas our solar panels, at the end of every year we're working out how much we've saved in the way I've just done in the previous previously in this video and in the previous video, and I'm putting that in my account as my saving. So that, assuming our electricity usage stays the same and all the costs stay the same, is linear. Right, so we can see we get our 10 year, 12 year and 15 year payback point at which we've got our £1,000 back, but of course at that point our savings accounts have accrued some interest, so we are then in a few more years till we've caught up. For our 1%, we're not making a lot of money, so our solar looks pretty good. 2%, that's the red line. Well, our 12 and 10 year paybacks soon overtake that, and we're looking good there. But our 5%, which you might reasonably expect to get out of the stock market, goes off whoosh, and because that's exponential, our solar panels will never catch it up, which incidentally will be the case. Our exponential savings account will eventually overtake our solar panels, and we notice I've only gone 25 years because that is what the expected life of a solar panel is, minimum. They may last longer, and I read somewhere that you would expect the controller to only last about half that, and that's another £1,000 odd. And batteries, how long are they going to last? Well, they're guaranteed for 10 years, so maybe we'd expect them to last half. So that's all going to take away from our money if we're having to replace bits on our system as we go along. These payback values are going to drop down as we're raiding our savings from our solar installation to update it and fix it. Oh, and I have read, well, I got a comment from somebody saying they expected to get their payback period to be 6 years, and I've seen also 6 years on the internet from American sites where it's a lot sunnier. And yes, if you can get a payback of 6 years, the green line, that is looking pretty good. So what do we conclude? Well, what do we conclude? I think I have to say, if you live where I do in the north of England, where it's cloudy and rainy a lot and you don't have a super duper south facing roof, solar panels really aren't worth it. You're better off getting your electricity from somebody who uses some of those solar arrays you see in fields where the solar panels are all pointing in exactly the best direction and at the best angle. So unless the prices come down, I don't think we will be bothering with solar panels. However, if you live in California or the south of France, I'm sure it is worth it because you get lots more sunshine. Plus, if you have air conditioning, the solar panels are at their most productive when your air conditioning is running hardest, when it's hot and sunny. So again, that's probably going to make it a lot more worth it. So, I guess in conclusion, if you're thinking of solar panels and some salesperson comes around and tells you need 10 panels because that'll provide you with all your electricity needs for a year, nah. Because it'll provide a lot of the energy when you're not using it and you'll just end up exporting it. And if your solar panels are saving you electricity at your headline rate, you're getting more out of them than if they're exporting them back to the grid at probably about half your headline rate. And batteries, while they improve your system, they are seriously expensive to buy. So probably not worth it. Now, daughter and partner have installed solar panels and a battery on their house last November, and they seem to be collecting an absolute ton of data on it. So I might do another video in November when they have a year's worth of data, and we can do a case study on an actual installation. But until then, it's I think that's it on solar panels, and it's goodbye from Triplicate. Goodbye.